If you're ever offered a Cuban cigar in a box with a glass lid, you can save yourself the trouble of checking anything else inside it. Walk away. It's fake. Every time. Habanos, the company that controls every legal Cuban cigar on Earth, has never once produced a glass-topped box. Not one. So if you see one, someone already answered your question for you before you even opened it. That single fact can save you real money, because the market for fake Cuban cigars isn't small and it isn't rare. Industry estimates suggest that a large majority of Cuban cigars sold outside of licensed shops, on street corners, through unregulated websites, from someone's cousin who happens to work in the factory, aren't Cuban cigars at all. They're ordinary tobacco wearing an expensive costume. There's a simple reason this particular product, out of everything in the world, attracts this much counterfeiting. A handful of names, Cohiba, Montecristo, Partagas, are recognized by people who have never even smoked a cigar. That kind of instant brand recognition is worth an enormous amount of money. And for decades, an actual legal ban made the real thing hard to get in one of the world's biggest markets. Put those two things together, unmistakable prestige and genuine scarcity, and you've built the perfect incentive for someone to fake it. So here's what you're actually going to learn. Not opinions, not guesswork, a saw built to fight this, piece by piece. Plus a handful of giveaways that require zero expertise at all. By the end, you'll be able to check a box in under 2 minutes and know with real confidence whether what's inside it is genuine. Let's clear up the biggest myth first. The myth is that spotting a fake takes a trained eye, decades of experience, and a magnifying glass.
It doesn't. Most counterfeits aren't good enough to survive 5 specific checks, and every one of them is something you can do standing in a shop or a hotel lobby before you hand over a single dollar. It helps to understand this as an ongoing arms race, not a problem that ever gets permanently solved. A Habanos tightens its security. A portion of the counterfeit market adapts and gets a little better at copying it, which is exactly why the warranty seal keeps getting redesigned instead of staying the same. The good news for you is that the counterfeiters are always chasing the last version, one step behind. The details that fool a casual glance almost never survive close inspection, because reproducing a shifting hologram, a database-linked barcode, and a hand-trained triple cap all at once is far harder and far more expensive than most counterfeit operations are willing to invest. Check 1 starts before you even open the box. Habanos didn't always put a security seal on its boxes. For most of the 20th century, a box was authenticated by nothing more than a stamp and a brand name, because for most of that century, nobody needed anything more. Then, as the counterfeit market exploded, the company introduced its first dedicated warranty seal in 1999, and it has redesigned that seal again and again ever since to stay ahead of forgers. The current version is genuinely clever. It's printed on a synthetic paper engineered to self-destruct the moment someone tries to peel it off or reuse it. Tilt it under a light, and you should see a real hologram, a Habanos emblem that visibly shifts and shimmers as the angle changes. Counterfeits almost always get this part wrong.
Their holograms are flat, printed images that never move because a real shifting hologram is expensive and difficult to fake convincingly. Right beside that hologram sits a barcode, and this is where the system gets genuinely hard to beat. That barcode isn't decoration. It's linked to a database, and you can check it yourself, for free, directly on their official website. Scan it or type in the numbers by hand, and it tells you whether that exact box was ever legitimately produced. If the code comes back with nothing, or with a description that doesn't match what's sitting in front of you, you have your answer. That's check 2, and it's the one most people never even know exists. Check 3 is the band itself, the paper ring wrapped around every cigar. Real bands are printed with a level of precision that's surprisingly hard to replicate. Under a phone camera zoomed in close, look for deep, crisp embossing and colors that stay perfectly inside their borders. Ink that bleeds even slightly past an edge is a warning sign. Brands like Montecristo, Partagas, and Romeo Julieta each use specific typography and gold foil detailing that's been essentially unchanged for years, which means counterfeiters are copying a moving target that real collectors and retailers know by heart. And if you're holding a Cohiba specifically, there's an even more specific tell. Since 2014, genuine Cohiba bands carry a small security hologram on the right side of the band, a checkerboard pattern where the white squares are physically raised, embossed into the paper, not just printed on top of it. A flat, blurry, or missing version of that pattern on a cigar claiming to be a Cohiba is close to a guaranteed fake. Check 4 moves from the packaging to the cigar itself.
Look at the head, the closed end you'd normally clip before smoking.
Genuine handmade Habanos are finished with what's called a triple cap. 3 clean, tight seams closing the leaf at the tip. It takes real training to make that look effortless, and it's one of the last skills a roller is trusted with, only after years of proving they can handle far simpler tasks first. A sloppy, uneven, visibly patched-together cap doesn't automatically prove a fake, but it's inconsistent with the quality control a real factory enforces on every single cigar that leaves the building, and it should make you look harder at everything else. Run your fingers gently along the body, too. A genuine cigar should feel evenly packed from end to end, with no obvious soft spots or hard lumps. That consistency isn't an accident. It's the entire point of the fermentation and rolling process most people never see. Check 5 takes you back to the box, specifically the bottom of it. Flip it over and you'll find a set of stamps the industry calls irons, because for decades they were literally branded into the wood with a heated press. You're looking for 3 things together. The phrase HON Cuba, always in Spanish. If you ever see an English Made in Cuba stamp instead, stop right there, because that phrasing has never been used on a genuine box, and it's one of the easiest fakes to catch. And for premium handmade lines, the words totalmente a mano, meaning entirely by hand. Beside those stamps sits a code, a short combination of letters and numbers that identifies the exact factory and the exact month it was packed. That code hasn't always existed either. HACC HSS predecessor decided that every box needed a traceable identity. Since the year 2000, that date has been written clearly using the first 3 letters of the month in Spanish, followed by the last 2 digits of the year. A box stamped Ago 19, for instance, was packed in August of 2019. A date that's oddly old, or a factory code that simply doesn't exist in any reference, is exactly the kind of small inconsistency counterfeiters get wrong, because they're copying what a real box looks like from a distance, without understanding what the details are actually supposed to say. 5 checks: the seal and its hologram, the online barcode lookup, the band and its embossing, the construction of the cap, and the box code on the bottom. Most counterfeits fail at least 2 of these without you needing any special equipment at all. There's also a simpler way to avoid needing any of these checks in the first place, and that's choosing where you buy before you ever pick up a box. Habanos controls a network of specialist shops around the world built specifically for this, generally known as La Casa del Habano. Buying there, or from another retailer formally authorized to sell genuine Habanos in your country, isn't just more convenient. It shifts the entire burden of authentication onto a business with a license to protect, instead of onto you, standing on a sidewalk, trying to read a hologram in bad light. But there's a 6th check that has nothing to do with the cigar, and it might be the most important one. It's about the person selling it to you. The classic street pitch hasn't changed in decades. Someone strikes up a friendly conversation, mentions a cousin, a friend, an uncle who works inside a real factory, and offers you a special box at a fraction of the retail price.
It's one of the oldest scripts in the entire industry, and it still works because it flatters you into feeling like an insider instead of a target. If a deal depends on secrecy, urgency, or a personal connection nobody can verify, that's not a bargain. That's the entire scam. The same logic applies to price on its own, no story required. If a box of a top-tier cigar is priced like a bottle of supermarket wine, it was never going to be real. Ortega controls exactly how and where its products are legally sold, and general online marketplaces and street stalls simply aren't on that list. A listing on a general auction site, a classifieds app, or an unfamiliar website offering suspiciously fast shipping and an even more suspiciously low price is playing the exact same odds as the guy on the street corner. The setting looks more legitimate. The math behind it isn't. Here's what's easy to miss in all of this. Learning to spot a fake doesn't just protect your wallet. It teaches you, almost as a side effect, what real craftsmanship actually requires. You start noticing the cap because you finally understand what years of training it takes to close one properly by hand. You start noticing the band because you understand the printing precision a real factory holds itself to. You start noticing consistency in the roll because you know exactly how much can go wrong between a tobacco field and a finished cigar. Counterfeiters don't just steal a name, they quietly reveal, by everything they get wrong, exactly how much skill goes into getting it right. That's really the deeper trade happening here. Every counterfeiter who cuts a corner is, without meaning to, drawing you a map of what genuine craftsmanship actually looks like.
The fake teaches you to see the real thing more clearly than you ever could have without it. So the next time you're handed a box, you don't need to be an expert, and you don't need to be suspicious of everyone. You need 5 specific things to check, in order, and about 90 seconds. Look for the seal and tilt it toward the light. Check the code online. Study the band up close. Examine the cap and the feel of the roll. Flip the box over and read what's actually stamped into the wood. And if it comes in a box with a glass lid, you already know the answer. You knew it before you even finished reading this sentence.